Welcome to Hawks and Lavender Rose, a heart-centered podcast dedicated to community through the foundation of love, trust, and advocacy for conscious living. I am your host, Shauna Gulbrand. I, along with my guests and guest co-hosts, are excited to bring you topics that affect our everyday lives as we share wisdom, awareness, experience, and the practice of vulnerability.
Welcome to Hawks and Lavender Rose. Thank you so much for being here today. I am joined today by my friend Donna Viau. Donna is an avid quilter, seamstress, and a teacher. She is a wife, a mother, a grandmother, and a world-traveling, bilingual, optimistic being. I loved that. Donna is the founder of the Masquerade Costumes and Quilts, and Donna is a breast cancer survivor. Welcome, and thank you for being here today.
I love being here.
So we're going to start off the episode talking about your journey through breast cancer and becoming a survivor, and then we're going to move into your business of the Masquerade. So today is a very special day for you.
Well, that it is. Today, January 28th, is exactly 21 years from when I was diagnosed with breast cancer.
That is beautiful. How are you feeling today?
Awesome. It's a good day.
Yeah?
I woke up with a smile.
I love that.
Because I woke up.
Yeah. Right?
Yep, that's what it's all about.
And you get out of bed. A lot of people can't even get out of bed. So
That's right.
Second thing to be grateful for. I neglected to mention how you and I met, which was, I don't know, maybe like 15 years ago. Preston's going to be 21 in June.
I don't know, Scouts. It was
long
time ago.
A long time ago. So my sons were in Scouts, and I remember all of the patches coming home and being overwhelmed. And I have a sewing machine upstairs. I know how to do patches, but I don't even remember who it was, but someone said to me, why don't you contact Donna Viau? She does a lot of work for the Scouts. And I was like, great. And look at where we are now.
I know.
It's so wonderful.
Scouting brings all kinds of people together.
It sure does.
What a great organization.
Sure does. All right, so let's talk about your journey.
Yes.
When were you diagnosed and at what age?
It was 1999 in January, and I was 37 years old.
So young.
Yeah. People don't worry about that kind of thing at 37, you know.
Right.
It's the last thing you think about.
Right. And what stage were you diagnosed at?
It was, and this is what they told me exactly. It was a stage 4, aggressive, invasive, intraductal carcinoma.
That is a mouthful.
Yeah.
If you could nutshell it for us, what would that mean?
Stage 4, it was a large tumor. Aggressive, meaning it grew much quicker than they expect breast cancer to grow.
Okay.
They tell people it could take 10 years to grow a centimeter tumor, and mine was bigger than 4 centimeters, and it took less than a year to get there.
Wow.
Well, about a year and a half, yeah. So, very quick. And intraductal meant that it was not just in the breast tissue, but had entered the ducts, the milk ducts, which means that it could have traveled. And it did. It was also in my lymph nodes, so I had lymph nodes removed, and I dealt with lymphedema.
Wow. Wow, that was a creaky little door just opening.
Someone's come to visit.
Yeah,
Hi.
we have a little friend with us
This is
today.
a friendly space.
When or how was your cancer initially detected?
Oh, it's kind of a funny story. My feet hurt.
Your feet hurt.
That's where it started. Yeah, at that time, at 37, with young children, they were 8, 10, and 11 years old.
Wow.
Or 9, 11, and 12, something like that. I was super busy, Scouts and school and band and all the things that kids get into. And my husband and I would do a yearly haunted house, and it was coming up to October. We were doing one over at the Derry Salem Elks Lodge. So we're building all the props and stuff at our home, and we're dragging them all over there, where we put in a sprinkler system outside in that space they have for cookouts and stuff. And it was so busy. It was so busy. I was getting 4 hours sleep a night. My feet were killing me.
And you just assumed that it was just because you were so busy, right?
Well, on my feet all the time.
Right.
Yeah, you get up in the morning, I couldn't take 5 steps. It took an hour before I could start walking again.
Wow.
I had heel spurs really bad, and I didn't know that's what I had. I just knew that both my feet hurt so bad I felt like a cripple. And I didn't take the time to go to the doctors.
Of course not. You're a busy mother of 3.
Yeah, and it had been a year and a half since I had a physical. And I knew I was due, but again, I wasn't making the time for myself.
Right.
I had my kids to bring to doctors and my kids to bring everywhere, so I wasn't doing any of that. And knowing that I'd be standing at a ticket booth at this place for 2 weekends on my feet, I thought, I got to get my feet taken care of. So I called up my primary care to get a referral to a podiatrist, who then said, the primary care said, you haven't been in for a year and a half. You have to come in for a physical first before I can give you.
I've been there.
So I did it.
Yeah.
And he palpated the lump in my breast. Mm-hmm. So if I hadn't had sore feet, I could have been dead 6 months later because it was that aggressive. So, yeah, it was my feet. Thank God my feet hurt.
Yeah.
Strange story.
It is, but, I understand just how everything is connected in the body.
Yeah.
So I imagine you have a lot of gratitude for your feet.
I do. Well, I'm a Pisces too, so a fish with feet, that's just freaking amazing.
Wow. So your cancer was initially detected through going to the doctors, having to have your physical. And what did you feel when you first received the news?
You know what? I wrote down several words because I thought about this. So
I love it that you brought notes.
I did, because I wanted to make sure I got the order correctly. And the first thing I thought, the first word obviously was shock. I felt shock, which just turned into fear. And then it soon turned into relief, a way out of this crazy life. Kids that didn't want to eat what you make, or didn't want to do homework, or ungrateful, or your husband who didn't come home a lot, or whatever. I was just, this is a way out, and I don't even have to do anything.
Wow.
And then the relief soon turned into compassion, because I told my husband, and he cried. And then, I'm getting emotional. And of course it turned into love. For him and my kids.
And maybe for yourself.
Yep. And then it quickly after that turned into determination. I gotta get through this. I can't let this get me.
Fighter.
Right. And then gratitude. Thank God I had a second chance.
That is beautiful. So shock, fear. What were the other words that you had there?
Relief.
Relief.
Compassion. Love and gratitude.
Wow.
Yeah.
That alone is just such a journey through
All
emotions and feelings.
within a day.
Wow.
In that order, all within a day.
And then to be able to come to that awareness of that is what you experienced in that one day. That is a huge range of emotions.
Now, other people might experience the same thing, but it might take weeks. Who knows? But you hear the words, you have cancer. That's shock. And I kind of expected it, but that was shock.
Right. How did you share the news with your family?
Well, I right out told my husband. The kids, we waited a little while, a week or two, because we wanted to know what our next steps were going to be. Surgery or chemo or whatever. We wanted to have dates and a timeline in mind. We didn't want to disrupt their lives. Right. So we waited a little bit of time, and we sat them down and explained that I was sick and I had to go through some really tough treatment, and I wasn't going to be able to do all the things I've been doing, and that we were going to work out another way for them to keep doing the things they want to do.
Right.
And that, it wasn't going to disrupt their lives very much, but they needed to know that I was sick.
And do you feel that the disruption to their lives was minimal?
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
great.
Yeah, I had a big bunch of support.
Well, that's it. One of my questions.
I know. I don't want to jump.
No, don't. Go ahead and jump. And my next question was, did you have a support system? And if not, how did you overcome that to find one?
Well, I did have a support system, so I didn't have to look very far to find one. Being so involved in the Scouts, the other parents...
It's like a whole family right there.
Were supportive. I was also a founder of the Salem Babysitting Co-op, which now has a new name, apparently. I don't know, I've been out of it for so long, but we had 18 families, 18 moms with kids that all understood. And we used to get together once or twice a month for coffees and let the kids meet each other and see each other's houses so that everybody was familiar with everybody else.
Right.
And then there wasn't any problem when you needed a babysitter. You had 18 families to go down the calling list and find someone who could come take your kids,
Wow.
And they all band together to help me out in different ways. Oh my God, they sent people over to clean the house, going through chemo, you're susceptible to all kinds of germs and nastiness. People were scrubbing my screens and my toilets and my floors, and it was crazy how much support I got there. They were coming over with, breakfast in the morning, and one particular woman, Teresa LaGregny, was my guardian angel.
Tell me more.
She was just there for me every day.
In what way?
Well, physically, she would show up in the morning. She'd drop her kids off at school and then show up at my house. And fielded phone calls. She can't take a call right now. She's relaxing. She's recovering. She kept a journal of when she was giving me pain meds and what I ate, and she made soup. She made after-school snacks for the kids. She would get her kids from school and then be there when my kids came off the bus, and she would keep them occupied and out of my hair and busy, and she stayed there until my husband got home every day. She was there for 8 weeks.
Wow.
Every single day.
Wow, she is an earth angel.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what did that do for you emotionally and mentally and spiritually?
Well, it definitely gave me some peace. Like, I knew things were being taken care of, and I didn't have to worry about the kids, and I could concentrate on healing myself. It's mind over matter. Definitely. You have to know that you can get well again. If you dwell on the fact that you're sick and you have cancer and you're going to die, well, I think you are.
I kind of believe that too. I haven't been directly affected.
If you are determined you're going to survive it,
Then you survive.
then you're going to survive it. You're willing your body to get well again, and I had the time to do that with her there, and she would bring the babysitting co-op moms around, and we'd have coffee at the house. I didn't go out a lot, so she organized some things for us to get together. It was really nice. And then, of course, my own family. My parents came up once a week. I mean, they live over an hour away, and they would come once a week. Mom would put in laundry, and Dad would putter around the house and find something to do. And
Sounds like a mom and a dad.
we were putting in a swimming pool that summer. Floating in water. See, I was going through chemo, and there's a lot of pain involved with that in your joints, and one of the medications they were pumping me up with caused severe pain in my joints. Felt like somebody was hammering a steel spike through my ankles and knees and wrists, and a lot of pain. And the one thing that helped that for me anyway was floating in water, the pressure of the water and the coolness of the water. So we were putting in a pool so I could float.
Wow.
Float my days away.
Yeah, but that's great therapy.
It was, yeah. I had Reiki done. I did a lot of things that normally wouldn't have been something I would have ever considered, but I was going to try anything and everything to get better.
And I'm going to say that I believe that your belief that your body could heal, that alone played such a huge role in your recovery.
It did. One of the co-op moms, Maureen Whitehouse, she's also a motivational speaker now. She's in Florida, but at the time she lived a couple houses away. She came to visit one day and said she'd been meditating and had thoughts of me or saw me or whatever it was that she did when she meditated, and thought she needed to come visit and be with me. And I told her it wasn't a good day for me. It happened to be a really painful day for me. And I said, all I was going to do today, Maureen, is float in the pool. I'll go get my suit. I'll come float with you. And she went and got her suit. We didn't talk. I laid there in the pool and I floated with my arms and legs dangling in the water. And she just floated around with me for an hour or two. And it was wonderful. It was wonderful.
I'm going to ask you to give a shout out to those women that made such a huge difference during your treatment and your recovery.
Well, first of all, I've got to name Teresa LaGregne, who now doesn't live in the area either. She's in Colorado. I got to see her last year.
Beautiful.
And Maureen Whitehouse, who is now in Florida. She's not in the area anymore either. Oh my God. Pam Seidel was a close neighbor of mine who was instrumental in helping with my recovery too, and she's now passed away from breast cancer. Wow. And her daughters are still close to me. And oh my God, I wish I had the list of all 18 families in front of me. All of them were so helpful.
That is beautiful. What would you suggest to someone who doesn't have as big of a support system around them like you do? Or like you did?
I did, but I was also told, at the facility, I went to Dana-Farber and then over to Mass General, and they both provided support systems if you needed it. And I think that any place you're going through cancer treatment, they offer you groups that you can get in touch with for support. And I think that's super important too, that if you don't have that support at home with your own family and friends, that you seek out these groups that are offered to you. I mean, they're given to you for a reason.
Right.
I mean, you might feel shy, you don't know anybody, but all you have to do is sit down and, and this happens to me all the time now. I sit down and talk with strangers, and I have no problem mentioning cancer. And when I do, quite often I find somebody else in that group of women has had cancer or knows somebody that's gone through cancer. Mm-hmm. And then the conversation starts. It's not hard to talk about once you break the ice. Right. You just have to talk about it. I think the initial thing people want to do is never talk about it again and just pretend it never happened.
Right.
But it is such a big thing in your life. It really changes your life. And if you remember that you lived through that, you'll also remember that you have a reason to stay alive. You have something to live for.
And that sense of community,
mm-hmm.
and how helpful it is in whatever support system that one can find or surround themselves with.
Yeah.
What obstacles, if any, did you face during your treatment process?
This is kind of a strange one. One of the biggest obstacles I faced was just being able to say yes to letting people help me.
That's hard for a lot of people.
Especially women.
Especially women, because we're supposed to do everything.
You're doing everything for everybody, so it's so hard to just stop and let someone come in your house and scrub your toilet. I mean, that's horrible. But you have to, you've got to let people help you. You have to let people help you.
So your biggest obstacle was saying yes to the
saying yes to the help. And then the other biggest obstacle I came across was feeling invisible.
Say more.
So, you are out in public once in a while. I chose not to wear a wig. It wasn't comfortable. It made me sweat. It wasn't me. I didn't want to put a bandana around my head. It wasn't me,
right.
So I have cancer. What am I trying to hide? So you're out in public, people see a bald person, a woman, they don't know how to react to that.
Well, it makes them uncomfortable.
Very uncomfortable. And they don't know what to say or what to do, so they don't look.
Right.
So when you're out in public, all of a sudden, you are invisible. No one's looking at you. No one's paying attention. You don't realize what that feeling is until it happens.
Right.
You know,
Until you experience it yourself.
You have no idea when you go out how many people actually are watching you, and or even glance at you for a second. Notice you, and then all of a sudden, never again. Like, wow, you want to jump up? Hey, I'm here. I'm alive.
What you're saying is bringing me back to the importance of the community of support.
Right.
That one needs to be around going through the process.
And I have a lot of friends and family, and some of them never got in touch with me the whole year I was going through treatment, and I think because they're afraid of what to say.
Yeah.
They didn't know how to react to my appearance. They were uncomfortable. And then soon after hearing I was done with treatment, my hair started growing back, and then all of a sudden, there they are again.
And what did that do for you? How did you see those people during that time?
I wanted to be able to reassure them that I'm still me.
Right. Were you able to find compassion for them?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
Absolutely. Because before I had cancer, I think I might have felt the same way. Mm-hmm. Uncomfortable and not knowing what to say. Not just somebody with cancer and a bald head, a person in a wheelchair.
Anyone in need of assistance.
Right. I mean, working with Scouts, you feel the need to assist people. Before I was working with Scouts, however, it is a little uncomfortable. And do you think they'll be embarrassed if I mention the fact that they're in the chair, or so you don't know what to say,
right.
And now I don't hold back. My husband's like, did you really have to say that to them? I'm like, well, they're not invisible. Right. And I want them to know that they're not invisible.
Well, we want to be seen.
Exactly.
In whatever way, or whatever is going on. Part of being a human being, we want to be seen. Even
if it's, hey, nice ride you got there. Something.
Right.
Something. You're a human and I notice you.
Amen.
And so that was tough. I think being invisible. That was difficult to live through. I knew it wasn't going to last forever. But.
Right. How are you living your life differently? You know what? I'm going to save that question for a second. I'm going to ask you this question first. What 3 things would you tell a woman who just learned of their cancer diagnosis?
I went over that too. I want to make sure I get this right as well. I had to think long and hard about this to come up with three of what I think is the most important things. And so, first of all, don't Google the stuff online.
Stay off of
the internet. Stay off of the internet. You'll be so frightened by what you read.
Yeah, there's a lot of.
And that'll scare the I want to live out of you.
Right.
You can't get caught up in how bad it is. And then make a short and a long-term bucket list. I was told that at the beginning of my treatment. One of the therapists told me that. And I thought, okay, why? You need something to live for. Short term, what you want to do within the next 6 months, year, 2 years. Long term, where do you want to see yourself 40 years from now, 50 years from now? I was only 37, Yeah. Make a 50-year bucket list. People you want to see, things you want to do, places you want to go, what you want to learn, where you want to see your kids, that kind of thing. So that's really important. And I did it. And I still have that bucket list.
I'm like chomping at the bit. I want to ask you what was on your bucket.
I should have brought it. I have. And you can see it's scratched out. Things are scratched out.
I bet they are. So if you could remember one thing from your short list and one thing from your long list.
My short list was I want to be able to squeeze my hair into a ponytail again. That was on my short list.
I love that.
That and see my kids all get into high school.
Wow.
That was...
And you have.
And I have.
And well beyond.
And college and beyond. One of the long-term, and now I laugh, long term, 21 years, but to me 21 years was a long time. Mm-hmm. I want to hold my first grandchild.
And now you have?
I have 4. I have 4. And the first happened to be twins. So I got to hold 2 at once.
That's so cute.
And that was one of the later things on my long-term bucket list. It's funny, I didn't think past grandchildren. I couldn't, that seems so far away.
And here we are 21 years later to the day.
And those first 2 are 8, almost. Be 8 in May. So yeah, it's been quite a few years since I've been a grandmother, and my kids knew my bucket list. They knew what was on my bucket list. And when I held those first 2 babies, I said to my son, "Oh my God, a long-term bucket list thing I can scratch off."
Check.
And he said, "You can't die now. You need to make another list."
Oh my, what a great idea. Did you?
I did.
Good for you.
Now I want to see them get married and have kids.
Oh, the grandchildren.
Yeah, the grandchildren. I want to see them get married. That's my longest. I don't know how I get past that. That's a long time away.
That's a great goal, though.
Yeah.
And what's the third thing
And
that
the
you would
third
offer?
thing, let me look at this again. Oh, just take a deep breath and always know that tomorrow will be the one day closer to the new and recovered you.
Beautiful.
Take a deep breath.
Yeah.
In with the good, out with the bad.
And sometimes all we can do is just breathe, right? And I imagine that there were days where all you needed to do was just breathe, right? To get
Breathing
through the
helped
day.
me. Breathing helped me. I had so much stress. I had alopecia spots. I was a mess before I had cancer, and I believe the stress gave me cancer. And you know how it is. It's so hectic. Things are crazy when you have all those kids and all that stuff going on. And
Yeah.
it was just, once I was going through cancer, I realized, don't sweat the little things. Oh my God. Life is too short. Just take a breath. Tomorrow is another day to start fresh and clean and good, and especially when you're going through cancer, tomorrow is one day closer to the end of treatment.
Right.
One day closer to the new and healthy you. And the baldness, oh my God, your hair grows back. In some cases, it doesn't. I have friends who have to deal with that, but for me, it worked. Take a breath, and it's not worth going bald over. That's my saying now. It's not worth going bald over.
And I'm reflecting as you talk on present moment awareness, because life is happening right now. It didn't happen yesterday, and God willing, it will be happening later on today and tomorrow and so forth. And I can understand why you have worked towards that. Tomorrow is another day closer. Tomorrow is another day closer. I would like to bring in a little present moment, that when we are connected to things that are going on in the past, and if we spend too much time looking toward the future in fear, worry, and anxiety, it's robbing us of present moment awareness. And this is where life is happening right here and right now. And it's to take that moment here and to offer gratitude right now.
Right.
Grateful that tomorrow I'm going to be one day closer. Grateful that yesterday is gone and I am closer to whatever goal of, through the healing process.
But definitely enjoying the moment.
Enjoying the moment as much
Unless you're
as possible.
not enjoying the moment. If something is happening that's stressful or fearful or whatever, that's when I like to put myself in the future and say, tomorrow's another day.
Well, that's a practice that you had that helped you get through some of the more difficult times.
But I enjoy the moment a lot now.
Good. That's a great place to be.
Yeah.
And to honor all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes we look at the challenges in life, and yours was a big, big challenge. And we can sometimes be like, oh, I wish that didn't happen. But it was meant to happen for a reason. And it brought you to a new version of yourself and a new way of being and a new way of seeing your life.
It's true. I'm grateful.
Exactly.
Grateful.
And often we can't offer gratitude, especially in the moment, right? It's really hard to offer gratitude when you're in pain, right? And when there's a level of suffering. But to be able to look back and say, I am grateful that happened. That is a beautiful place to be.
It is, yeah.
Is there anything else you would like to say about your journey, about today being this anniversary? Anything at all?
Geez, that's a...
And I know that wasn't a question I posed to you before you came
I
here
know,
today.
but, I don't have any huge insightful thing, just that, I don't know, but, I don't have any huge insightful thing, just that, I don't have any huge insightful thing, just that, I don't have any huge insightful thing, just that, I don't have any huge insightful thing, just that, I don't have any huge insightful thing, just that, I don't have any huge insightful thing, just that, I don't have any huge insightful thing, just that, I don't have any huge insightful thing, just that, I don't have any huge insightful thing, just that, I don't have any huge insightful thing, just that, I don't have any huge insightful thing, just that, I don't have any huge insightful thing, just that, I don't have any huge insightful thing, just that, I don't have any huge insightful thing, just that, I don't have any huge insightful thing, just that, I don't have any huge insightful thing, just that, I don't have any huge insightful thing, just that, I don't have any huge insightful thing, just that, I don't have any huge insightful thing, just that, I don't have any huge insightful thing, just that, I don't have any huge insightful thing, Another day, 21 years. I'm legal.
I know, right? You can go have a drink if you want.
It's my 21st birthday. That's what cancer survivors talk about, their birthdays, I had a sweet 16 and I got past it. I'm at 21. Like, that's awesome. It's amazing.
Yeah, yes, it is.
It's amazing, and it's a great day. The sun might not be shining today,
Doesn't matter.
but it's shining in here.
And that's all that matters.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the Masquerade.
Mm-hmm.
I want to share with you, and I may have shared this with you, and you didn't put it to memory. There was, they're called message boards. I used to belong to this political message board years ago, and my handle, my name online was Masquerade.
You did share that
and
with
I
me.
had this beautiful mask. That was my what are they called? Avatar. So the Masquerade, before we get into what it is that you do, I really loved reading the bio that you sent me. And I learned some new things about you today. First, you're bilingual.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that. You spent a year in Hungary during the 6th grade, and that you traveled overseas as a teenager visiting your sister in Sweden, but you also traveled through Germany and Austria. As I was reading this, all I could see was the sound of music. And I started singing at my desk.
I do the same thing.
The hills are alive.
I do the same thing every time I think of that trip we took through past. We didn't go through them. We saw the Alps, and it was just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
So fortunate. What I loved reading here, though, was that you were really taken in by the traditional Hungarian crafts, and you talk a lot here about color and texture, and I just love that. So Donna, again, is the founder of the Masquerade, and she is so amazingly awesome at quilt making, teaching classes. I'm going to let you talk in a second. The costumes. So, okay, I'm going to let you say a little bit about the Masquerade.
Well, the Masquerade as it is now, I am a seamstress, and I do alterations, and it's a costume shop. I do costumes per order.
Custom
Costumes per order, and mundane things. I do hems and zipper replacements.
That's when I go to see her.
Yeah, a lot of people do. I have 682 clients now.
That is
that come
fabulous.
See me. That's a lot of people in town that need things hemmed. When you think about it, when I learned how to sew, I was young. I was 5. My grandmother taught me, and 6, and then again in junior high school, we had to take it as home ec. I don't think they offer that anymore. Yeah, everybody learned.
They don't offer it anymore? That's wrong. I think it should.
They don't. And so a lot of people I see that are my age, you think they'd know how to do a hem, but no. And that's okay. That's what I'm here for.
I would just rather bring it to
not.
you.
Yeah, rather not. Yeah, and other people feel that way too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm here for. I love to do it. So I love being the Masquerade. I love doing what I do. I love sewing. But I even love more playing with color and shape and design, and that's why I got back into quilting. I started quilting in 1978. I was in high school. And when you sew and you're making clothing, I used to make all of my own clothes, a lot of them, more than half of my clothes I made myself. If you have ever cut out a pattern, and most people listening probably have not, there's a lot of scrap on the edges.
Mm-hmm.
You cut out the shapes you need and you throw away, and I couldn't throw away scrap, My mother was a stickler for no waste. There's no waste in this house. And so, what do you do with that stuff? Well, I cut it into squares. I put it into quilts. I made things out of it. So I was quilting in a smaller way than I do now, but I was quilting. And I started doing it for other people, not quilting, but sewing for other people. I made my sister's wedding gown and my brother's sister-in-law's wedding gown and one of my friends and my own and all the bridesmaids' dresses. I started doing that stuff before I was even 19 years old.
Wow.
And then I realized, geez, I could make money at this.
Yeah.
So as I went out into the world in college, I went to Swain School of Design because I'm into design and color and that kind of stuff. I really wanted to be a graphic artist. I wanted to illustrate children's books is what my desire was at the time. But then I wanted to be more hands-on, something bigger, and wanted to do costuming and work with color and flashy and big and beautiful. That, you know, it has a bigger world, I think, than children's books, even though they're huge.
Yeah. They sure
It just seemed like a bigger way to express myself, and not sitting so still, you know, stretching and cutting and holding up fabric, and that to me was more physical than drawing pictures. So,
and you like the more physical.
I liked the more physical.
I'm curious though, would a children's book be on one of your bucket lists?
It has been, and I've actually written a couple, didn't publish them. I would love to publish them. I didn't illustrate it myself, though. I wrote it and didn't illustrate it because I had too many things on my plate that I was doing work for people.
Right.
I didn't have time to sit and do that, but yet my son's friend's got a wife who does this as a living, and she went in with me and illustrated the first book for me. I have 10 of these. It's a series, and there's a series of 10. I've written the first 3. I have the ideas down, actually 5. I have 5 of them written, so I have half of them written. She got busy, couldn't illustrate the second one or the third one, and I just dropped the project. But it's there. It's there, and someday
you might have dropped it, but it's not dead.
And it's not. Someday it'll get finished. And it was for my grandchildren, my first granddaughters. It was what the series is about. It's called Isabel. The girls are Isabel and Madeline has a whole series of books out there.
She does.
Right?
Yeah.
But Isabel doesn't. So I had to have a series for Isabel.
So maybe you can come back on sometime in the future to promote your book series.
Maybe.
The publication of all of your books.
Yeah, once I get them published. That's a long-term thing for me. When I'm not doing so much sewing, I can then illustrate them myself.
Yeah, but that seems to be where your passion is right now, and your purpose is in sewing. Yeah. And so what is your mission or your motivation behind starting this business?
Well, first of all, I wanted to do something that made me happy every day. You know, after cancer, this is my life. Life isn't worth being miserable over.
Absolutely.
And I didn't want to work for somebody else and be miserable sitting at a desk like I had been for all those years. I mean, as much as I was doing this stuff as a teenager and my early marriage, I always had a desk job somewhere. And then I would come home and work on the projects that people were paying me to do, and I would work on them at night. And I didn't have a lot of time to myself, really. And I kept it going until 1990 when I moved up here. I was in Massachusetts, in Quincy. I moved up here, and I didn't tell my client base I was moving. It was the worst thing I could have possibly done. But I was busy with the move and the little kids and the new community, and I didn't think anybody would come from Quincy all the way up here to have something hemmed.
It's a ways away from here.
And so I figured, well, you know, I'm leaving town, is all I said. I'm leaving town, sorry, you'll have to find another seamstress. And off I came. And then I kind of didn't sew for about 9 years, because it was nuts.
That's a big transition.
I had an 8-month-old, and I had a 4-year-old.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And I had one in between. So I was really busy, and I spent 9 years not sewing, and then realized I wasn't happy all the time dealing with this and working. I was working part-time at night, so my husband would be home with them while I went out and worked at night, and I thought, I got to get back into sewing. I don't enjoy what I'm doing. But I never did, and that became the crazy time, and then I got cancer, and then I realized, I'm going to sew.
It's interesting because I believe that our higher selves, our soul, whatever you want to call it, our spirit, the universe, God, speaks to us in whispers.
Yeah.
Of where we're supposed to be going, what direction to take. And though you heard it, right, so many other things were more of a priority for you until the universe says, okay,
it's your turn.
Now it's time. Like, yeah, we've been whispering, and now here you go. Here is a diagnosis of cancer, and this is what it's going to take to move you in the direction.
I had a lot of time laying on my back thinking about this.
I bet.
It's 6 months of recovery and chemotherapy, and yeah, I did go back to work. My job was held for me, my 9 to 5 desk job.
How long did you last after you went back?
Well, in 2005, so 5 years, I quit that job and was going to take some time to myself and realized, well, maybe I need a creative job. And so after a year of looking around, I worked for Malden Mills Retail Store, where I could help demonstrate how to make fleece things and talk to people about their projects they were making, cutting fleece for people.
And I bet that felt so good.
It really did, and then the store closed. So I was left without work again, and this is when my husband said to me, why don't you just do what you always do?
Right.
You know, even while I was working at Malden Mills, I was taking on work from people that were coming in that needed alterations. These are people that sew, and they were buying fleece to make fleece things, but they didn't want to replace a zipper. They didn't know how to design a costume. And so I started up a new client base, and I was doing this at night, you know, on top of working. And so when that store closed, I actually did get one more desk job. I worked as as a receptionist in an insurance agency. And when I got laid off from there, that's when my husband said to me, stop looking for a desk job, you're miserable. And that's when I registered the Masquerade with New Hampshire as a business. So it's been 15 years. I've been working for myself, and I love it. I love it.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
You already talked a little bit about the services you offer. I'm going to ask you to just mention briefly the fairs that you do.
Well, I actually stopped doing fairs.
You're not doing them anymore.
I'm not doing them anymore. I was doing the New Hampshire Renaissance Fair. For 12 years, I did the New Hampshire Renaissance Fair. I was on the board of directors and
making all the costumes?
Making the costumes, filling up racks full of Renaissance costumes. And even that got too much because I have so many clients coming in with the everyday stuff. Right. And proms and wedding season happens to be in May when the fair was.
That's a lot.
I found myself getting 4 or 5 hours sleep a night because I was staying up trying to make costumes to put on my racks to sell at the fair. And when I realized I don't have time to make things that I'm not sure will sell,
right.
I will just take orders. You know, why waste my time and fabric materials making a size 6 in blue of this style? It might be gorgeous, but a size 10 is going to walk in and it's not going to fit her. She's going to order one anyway. Right. So, yeah, I stopped. After 12 years, I said I have to, you know, I started feeling stress. I started not waking up with a smile, and I realized, what is going on in my life? Oh, too much stress, too much work. I have to stop. And something had to go, that went. So I don't do the fairs anymore. But I do say it's a great fair. It's a not-for-profit fair. They're, you know, a nonprofit organization, and the board of directors, they're not getting paid. I was on the board for 12 years. I put a lot of hours into working for that fair, and I didn't get paid, but I did it because the money was going to charity, and I'm just like that. I give. I like to give. This is my way of giving back. You know, I got another chance at life. This is how I give back.
I love that.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about the services that you offer and the classes that you teach, and then we're going to move into your philosophy of what you create in your space.
Well, I also offer, other than the costuming and the alterations, I do an embroidery service, so I can digitize logos and put them onto polo shirts and hats and that kind of thing. And my embroidery service, I've been embroidering faces on teddy bears for an organization called Jamie's Fund. It's another organization that's charitable, and they make these teddy bears. They give them away to homeless shelters and police stations and hospitals and anywhere kids are that might be in a stressful situation, that might need a hug. You know, they get a bear for free. Comes with a book. Jamie's Fund. It's an awesome organization, and I still do that kind of thing. So I'll provide my space for people to come in and help make bears. They don't get paid to do it. It's just we all get together, we sew bears. That's a fun thing to do. So it's one of the charitable things I'm doing now. As well as making money with my embroidery, I also do that. And I like to travel and teach classes. I have antique sewing machines that I like to pull out, and you've been to one of those.
I've used them. They're
And,
so cool.
I like to travel with those and share that little bit of history with people. You know, the Industrial Revolution was a huge thing. And the sewing machine, when it came into the home, and women could start making things they needed, curtains, bedspreads, clothing, whatever.
Right.
That was a huge step in life for people, I think, and I like to share that. And then the quilting classes. Obviously, I offer beginner, intermediate, simple classes, simple quilts with pieces that have already been cut that you can buy pre-cut, and then classes that are paper piecing and more difficult.
I've seen her quilts.
Some
of them I'm like,
I actually brought one of the most simplest quilts that you helped to make.
I did? Oh, that's right. I remember that.
And I brought a big one to show what you can learn how to do. But
awesome.
I'll show those at the end.
Okay, good. So one of the last questions I have for you, when we first talked about this, you told me about your philosophy and how your space is a no judgment zone. So I'm going to ask you to say a little bit about that.
It is. I offer, my space is a small space. It's not a whole lot bigger. Well, you guys can't see the rest of the room, but it's not a whole lot bigger than the rest of this room. And we can fit 6 students in there comfortably. 4 students is even better because you have more space to work. But so you get 4 or 5 women together, and they're going to talk. And, you know, what happens in the masquerade stays in the masquerade.
It's like Vegas, baby!
It is, and people feel comfortable. They're coming into my home, and it's a comfortable space.
You're creating a comfortable, safe environment for women to open up.
Absolutely. And not only just open up from themselves, but they're learning to create something. And when you're being artistic, people say, I don't have an artistic bone in my body, I can't do that. But everybody's got it in there somewhere.
Yes.
You have 2 sides to your brain, and one of them is artistic. Maybe it's sleeping right now, but it's there. And if you come into the space and you learn baby steps, a little bit at a time, how to do something, you start to open up and you start to feel freer. And I think because you're not in that thinking part of your brain so much.
It's that creative part. It's that opening. It's meditative, actually.
It is. And I think that you tend to spill your feelings at the same time. You know, you're spilling it into your project, but you're spilling it verbally amongst each other. And it's good to have conversation. Yeah, it's good to have conversation. And it's freeing. It's freeing. It's like meditating. It is. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's comfortable and it's fun, and we laugh a lot and cry sometimes, and you'd be surprised how many cancer survivors I find walk into my studio, and they didn't know I was a cancer survivor when they walked in, and they weren't about to divulge the information, and somehow it comes out sometimes during the conversation, and it's freeing. It's very, I keep saying that, it's freeing, but it is.
But that's clearly something that you're feeling in your body.
I am, yeah.
And a message that I'm sensing that you bring to other people who come in and use your space.
I think so too. I think people don't really know about me. I don't advertise much. It's mostly word of mouth. Mm-hmm. But when somebody does walk in for the first time, you know, I've got a Scentsy warmer going, and there's like, it smells like baked apple pie.
Yeah, and there's so much to look at.
Coffee or something, and there's all those colorful quilts around.
So many colors.
It's just so comfortable, and it's warm and inviting, and I think people are like, wow, when's your next class? So it's hard to get them in, but once they're there, they want to come back, and it's a fun place to be. And so I have all these people that come in for alterations. Now I need the same amount of people that want to learn how to quilt. And so that's kind of where I'm going for my retirement, is away from the everyday alterations and zippers and hems, bridezillas. I'm looking at wanting to just quilt my life away. Not life away, but quilt until I drop.
Exactly.
That's what I want to do. And I want to teach people. It makes me happy. It makes them happy. I don't need negative in my life, you know, and sometimes there's negative when you're looking at the other stuff I do. So, it's all good.
Would you like to show us what you brought today?
I do. So
that's exciting.
The first
I didn't know you were bringing samples.
I did. Well, so Shauna, you helped me make this.
Wow. Now, I didn't do all that work. These colors down here look very familiar to me.
Here, hold up a corner.
Okay.
See that? It's just strips.
Wow. Yeah, so I know I sewed like 3 of these together on one of your antique machines. And
You
like
did.
I said, those colors down there, the
These
green,
ones,
the blue, and the purple,
those look
really familiar.
Yep. So everybody sewed a few together, and then some people sewed the groups of the few together, and then I put the border around it, and now I'm going to actually turn it into a small quilt that can be donated to Project Linus, which is another thing, another charitable thing I want to be doing, you know. So
I'm going to ask you to send me all the charities that you work for, and I'm going to put that with the post when we post the
sure.
this episode. Wow, that is so pretty.
So that's that. You helped.
I took part of that.
You did. Don't you feel good?
I do. I know how to do this stuff. Like I said before, it's just my life is kind of going this way, but I have had this.
Now this one's probably too big to show.
Feeling of making a quilt for my bed because I'm not liking the ones that I'm seeing in the store.
And that's really simple, and I do other really simple patterns too that are great for beginners.
Right.
But if you're a more advanced quilter and you want to learn how to do something else, I'm teaching how to do a paper piecing. This is so huge. I don't know if I can even get this all on camera.
Wow.
I'm going to stand up.
Look, I'll stand up with you.
I think we might be able to get this to show.
Look at that. That is gorgeous.
Yeah.
No way. This is like advanced quilting.
This is advanced quilting. It's paper piecing, but there are paper piecing patterns that are beginner patterns that you would start to learn with. Like there are even paper piecing patterns that you could learn how to do as a beginner that's never really made a whole quilt. So you can, there are so many ranges. It doesn't have to be big and huge. But I have quilters that have done paper piecing for their friends. This is all applique. This was sewn on by hand. These colorful points are pieced right into the quilt. But these other things, the leaves and the little buds, were hand sewn on afterwards. So that's applique.
Wow.
But, yeah, there's so many different kinds of quilting you can do. And during the summer, last summer, I did a Thursday quilt day. For evenings and afternoons, and I couldn't find anybody that wanted to come during the day. It's hard. It's so hard. Unless you're retired or you're an at-home mom that you know, kids are in school and they want to keep busy during the day. So I do my quilting classes on weekends because that's when most people are available. Or nights, but people are tired after work and they don't want to come do it at night. But I'm so flexible. I can, you know, if somebody had a friend and they both wanted to learn how to do it, they could pick a time, and if I'm available that time, I'll teach them. So my hours are so flexible.
Okay.
I say that I'm 10 to 6 Monday through Friday. That I have Tuesdays off, and Saturday, again it's like early 9 a.m. to noon, and then Sunday I say I don't have any hours, but that's not true.
But you're flexible.
I have people come in on Sundays. I have people come in Saturday nights. I have people come in at 10 o'clock at night because they need to drop something off. You know, so. I'm flexible. Okay. I'm all flexible. It's all about getting in touch with me, and we make it work.
And that was going to be my next question. How can people get in touch with you? And I will post this on social media when I post the links to this episode.
They can get in touch with me via email at themasqueradenh.gmail.com. At gmail.com.
So
themasqueradenh@gmail.com. They can see me on YouTube.
Your YouTube channel is?
youtube.com/C/themasquerade.
C/themasquerade.
The little letter C /themasquerade.
Lowercase, great.
Yep, that's my channel. And where I have tutorials, I have a fun project series I put up there. I have I'm 22 people away from 11,000 followers,
Fabulous.
subscribers, 11,000 subscribers. So if 22 people of you are out there and want to subscribe, one of you might be the 11,000th. So I have that going on, and people follow the fun project series, and they can see tutorials on how to start a quilt and finish a quilt and bind a quilt and all the things you need to know about quilting. But the fun project isn't just quilting, it's other projects too. Usually something involved with textiles, because that's what I just want my hands on things.
And what about social media?
And social media, I'm on Facebook. You can find me. I'm at the Masquerade NH on Facebook. And I have an Instagram account. Again, it's also the Masquerade NH. I have to do that because there's a masquerade in Louisiana somewhere that's a caterer.
Interesting.
So when I signed up with the state as the Masquerade, I had to add words to my name. and I became the Masquerade Costumes and Quilts
Got it.
because of this other company in the country.
And Donna is located in Salem, New Hampshire. I'm going to read this before we end. This is a quote that Donna had in her bio, and I'm going to read this in the first person. I think waking up every day and doing the thing I love, putting all my feeling into the process and stepping away from the daily grind is the healthiest way to live my life.
That's right.
How beautiful is that?
It's my life.
It's beautiful. Donna, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, it was a blast.
And congratulations on 21 years
Yes.
being cancer-free.
Thank you very much.
I'm so grateful that that you chose this day to come and record.
I am too. When I saw it on your calendar, I chose it for a reason. It's a good day. It's a monumental day. It's
Sure is.
one to celebrate.
So thank you all for being here. You can find me on social media, Shauna Gelbrand. I looked it up. I've Googled it. I'm the only Shauna Gelbrand in the world. So if you look up Shauna Gelbrand, you'll find me. Thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate you listening and watching. I wanted to say something. I'm not sure what I want to say. Live life to the fullest.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it's okay to just breathe.
It is. Put a smile on your face in the morning.
Present moment awareness. Thank you all so much, and I will see you on our next episode of Hawks and Lavender Rose.